Welcome back to Amazon Unpacked, the podcast Amazon does not want you to hear. I am one of your co-hosts, Ira, longtime Amazon employee.
Hi, I'm Dylan, longtime Amazon employee.
Hi, I'm Brendan, Amazon delivery driver, former warehouse worker.
And I am the new guy, Alvin. I also work, but I'm in the warehouse. You might see me around. I have the cool hat.
Does have a cool hat. It's a very cool
He
hat.
does have a very
A
good
wide
hat,
brim.
actually.
What kind of hat would you call that? What's it called?
I'm gonna say very, very 1920s gangster. That's what I was going for with that look.
There you go. It's like that wide brimmed black flat hat.
People
Very,
keep calling me a cowboy, and that hurts my feelings.
you're not a cowboy.
Yeah,
You're an Al Capone. Uh,
Yes, you get it.
fucking,
so what are we talking about today, Dylan?
we are talking about our year in review. All
Yes.
the shit that we've done in the last year.
So let's start giving a little bit of context where we were at the beginning of 2023. The warehouse was pretty new. It had only been open about 5 months. Amazonians United New York City was not openly operating in the warehouse. So we came into January and you could say we had just won lift codes. And what that means is at most of the delivery stations in New York City, management provides all of the workers with these lift codes. $15 off to and from the warehouse. So it helps people get to these warehouses because these warehouses, they're kind of in the middle of nowhere. For a lot of them, the public transportation in the area is not great. But even in the areas where there is public transportation, these shifts start at 1 a.m. So that's people trying to get to work during pretty difficult times to take public transportation and sometimes dangerous times too. So when DBK4 opened in the fall of 2022, we were one of the only warehouses in the outer boroughs other than Staten Island that did not get these lift codes. When we raised it to management and HR, they said, oh, our warehouse is not going to get lift codes. Our warehouse doesn't qualify for lift codes. There's a bus stop right outside. You guys don't need lift codes. And so, we kept bringing it up, writing it individually on the VOA board, and they just kept responding, you guys don't need lift codes. This warehouse doesn't qualify for lift codes. So we got, 5, 6 of us to get people to sign the VOA board in groups and to go talk to management in groups about why we needed lift codes. This started in the fall of 2022. And just as we turned into 2023, management finally conceded. And so they gave us lift codes, but those codes only were good between the warehouse and 4 train stations. And those weren't very convenient train stations. They didn't work very well for people coming from Queens or the Bronx or Manhattan. So we had kind of gotten this partial win in January coming into the new year of 2023. And that's when we started our petition.
Yeah, so as a group, our organizing committee, we came up with 5 or 6 demands that we were going to fight for. And these were things that we continuously heard our coworkers complaining about, stuff like safe and sufficient staffing, a higher base pay, and more lift codes, because the lift codes back then only serviced mostly Brooklyn. There was like one Queens stop.
Mm-hmm.
Took a little bit to draft the petition, but once that started, we started gathering signatures from everyone that were open to supporting the union, and then we were having multiple talks with people who had never been exposed to it before. But by doing that, it really grew the union support in the warehouse.
But the things we kind of identified as, I guess you could say, low-hanging fruit, the things we thought might be winnable. A big one was better lift codes. And then another thing was earbuds, headphones. We should be able to wear at least one headphone while we work. These are 11-hour, 10-hour shifts. They go by gruelingly slow. Sometimes, the music they play over the loudspeakers is terrible. It actually makes it worse. So, we should be able to listen to our own stuff. Amazon says wearing headphones is a safety hazard, but yet they blast the music insanely loud over these loudspeakers. They didn't have speakers set up throughout the warehouse. They just had them in the dock. And so to get it so the sound could be heard on the back of the warehouse, they just had to blast the shit out of them. So if you were in the dock, you're standing next to these insanely loud speakers that are trying to project sound at the back of the warehouse. And if you complain about it, the crazy thing is they would give you earplugs.
Earbuds.
Yeah.
Earplugs, like to cancel the sound out. So not only were they blasting this insanely loud music, but they gave you earplugs to block that sound out.
I remember those days. I used to even the stow aisles had those, by the way. Like every stow aisle at the begin, you know where the process assistant or the operations manager
Yeah,
would usually
at
stand? There
the
would
end of the
be
line, there
one.
would be a stand-up speaker.
Yep. And I would try my best to have my because I used to stow every day back then, and I would try my best to get the aisles that were away from the speakers, just so I didn't have to listen to all of it.
Yeah,
It was a bad day, bad days, bad days.
it was mostly shit music too.
We had a medical emergency on the pick the buffer line. Like someone had a seizure and collapsed on the pick the buffer line. Thank God they didn't hit their head on the line on the conveyor belt. But no one heard them fall. And then they say, "Oh, it wasn't the speaker's fault, but the speaker literally muted the entire warehouse to everyone who was around."
But for some reason, us having one headphone in and listening to our own music would be dangerous. So
But they do continue their war on our ears. They really love doing that with their live DJ by a few days ago. That was great for me to hear. And I remember that DJ very well because they were blasting it so damn hard that nobody could hear each other on the dock. And there was a bunch of injuries that day. Nothing reported, of course, because you usually kind of shrug things off nowadays because reporting things really doesn't do much. Maybe
Yeah.
you'll get a few swag bucks because you're Dragonfly, and you know what? That's great for you. But other than that, being safe, there's no incentive for it, especially proven by literally our managers who brought in the DJ. Well, did they bring? Should we blame the managers or should we blame Amazon? Because even some of the managers did not like having to listen to that.
I think we have to blame the managers because isn't that a site request to have that DJ?
is it DJ Loverboy? It's DJ Loverboy, right?
Yeah.
It is DJ Loverboy, yes.
Nothing against DJ Loverboy. He's a fine DJ, but he has sort of inadvertently been tangled up in Amazon's union busting repertoire because they used to call him the DBK1 as well. Every time the union started heating up, they would call him a DJ.
It's
Like-
just the wrong venue, man. It's just the wrong venue. That's really it. Ain't nothing against you, brother, but it's just not at a workplace.
Right. And like, how much are you paying this DJ? Like, give us that money instead.
Exactly.
But yeah, anyway, back to the petition. We had like 150 signatures on that petition, which is about 75% of the warehouse at the time. We started it in February, and in March, we decided to turn the petition in.
They're the first actual confrontation, I believe, towards management. Like that was fully for the whole warehouse to see at stand up with all the naysayers, all the supporters that were all there. We all saw it. That was when I first met Ira because I had never even seen Ira. Of course, I'm not somebody who very conscious of their surroundings, but I hadn't seen Ira at work before that, and I was like, who is this new guy screaming his head off about a union? And I was like, you know what? This sounds interesting as hell. I would love to go and join a union. At this point, I had nothing even against management. I just don't like the way Amazon treats its employees and workers, especially how much money they make off of us, and they share nothing of that with us. I heard it and I was like, you know what? I gotta go sign this petition right away. I went up, and that was a excellent rallying cry for me. We do be continuing that. We do be continuing that later on. That is nice to see.
Facts. Dylan, and do you want to talk a little bit about how we did that hand in?
I'd rather not. That was my greatest failure.
What happened?
Wait, let me give a little bit of context. So we had the 150 signatures, and we decided that of our crew, me, Dylan, and Kenny were going to sort of be the voices of the committee. So we chose stand up, the meeting where managers are making their announcements. Everyone is there. We chose that as the time that we dropped this petition on them to hand it in.
But the thing about that is I have a low voice and they straight up were using the speaker to drown me out.
Damn. Oh.
Yes.
Oh, damn.
And then someone from the crowd called for them to give me the mic, and Kelly was like, "No, we're not giving him the mic." and continued to speak on the mic in response to what was happening.
Yeah, so for me, this was like I'd done it a few times, so I was like ready to project my voice. Ralph finished giving the announcement, and I was like, okay, before we go to work, and I held up the petition, and I was like, managers, we've got this petition, and we're going to tell you the demands right now. And so I read off the first demand, and then Dylan goes to do the next one. And part of it's tricky now because management now has their bearings a little bit already. So they're trying to like shut it down. Like for me, they weren't quite trying to shut us down yet. But by the time we handed off to Dylan, they kind of used that sort of hiccup to try to start shutting us down. And they really start speaking over Dylan.
They got the full mic set up to freaking do me in.
Yeah. And by the time we got to Kenny, management was really trying to shut us down. But it was really nice because then Kelly, the head manager, the head honcho, she took the mic because she had the mic and she's like, everybody, you don't have to stay for this. You can go to work, start work. And
Yeah, I remember that.
nobody budged,
Nobody budged. Literally nobody budged. We all stayed.
Exactly. All, I don't know, like 80, 90 people who were there, they all like stood firm. So right after that, that's when management announces, okay, we're going to expand the lift code coverage. If you guys ever want to add anything to it, just write on the VOA board what stations we want added. And since then, we have no trouble getting stations added. But the other thing is then within the next couple months, they announced, okay, Amazon now has these special headphones, these special OSHA approved headphones that you can buy from us. And then you can wear those headphones while you work.
When I saw the look of those headphones, I thought that was the stupidest thing I've ever seen.
Yeah, but now we don't have to pay for them either. We can use our swag bucks to get them. So I chalk that up as
Yeah, I think they actually announced for the drivers the other day in our stand-up that they're introducing swag bucks to drivers as well. I think that we should just talk a little bit about what swag bucks are. I mean, especially for the people that don't work at Amazon. I mean, it's pretty crazy system that they got.
It's VC. It's a virtual currency that they made up. There is no better way to say it. If there's no better way to say it, if you kiss ass, you will get swag bucks. If you engage in their engagement activities, you will get swag bucks. If you basically are on their side on spreading this false cheer throughout the warehouse, you will get swag bucks. That's what all swag bucks really are. They're incentivize you to be more Amazon sided, basically.
These swag bucks can't be used for anything like outside the Amazon store. This is purely used for the Amazon store employee store. That's
we don't mean Amazon.com. We mean their little shelf of swag at the warehouse.
Now, here's the thing, though. Some of y'all might know my little obnoxious little title on the back of my vest. I was Stow Champ for a long time. When I won that vest by winning monthly prizes on the Stow side, and those prizes are literally what's in the Swagbucks store right now. Back then, and even when I joined the DBK4, there were Stow competitions. People used to win actual good stuff like Beats headphones, TVs this way, but now it's all gone and it's all just swag bucks. You get it with swag bucks. There's no more it doesn't even make sense from the perspective of Amazon because like with the contests you incentivize better labor and you give out these basically paltry to a big billionaire company prizes to your employees who've worked very hard. So instead of that, now you get them to do things for you this way, where you agree to their little calendar objectives that they put up every month. You do those, you do their little activities, you get these dollars that you can use to buy a cap that says Amazon on it now.
Yeah, you get swag bucks or a hoodie.
You get a Nintendo Switch.
Not even the OLED version, it's the original version, bro.
Yeah, bro. 235. You know how much it takes to get 235 swag bucks?
So if you're not like actively going around kissing ass and trying to be the top stower and all that, like you're never gonna get over 200 swag bucks. I've been there for 4.5 years and I had 180 before I started spending it on headphones. Let's talk a little bit about the sports league, the sports league that we ran during the summer. We were having trouble bringing drivers together, getting to know drivers. Brendan, do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you don't have to be a supporter of the union to participate in the sports league. It's really just something to bring together all the workers at the warehouse. And it's supported by the union because for the union to be successful, people have to know each other and people have to trust each other. And the sports league will help with that. It'll help bring, and it did help bring people together, especially with drivers. We're all contracted through third party companies. There's about 7 or 8 companies right now. And so the sports league was a great way to kind of like bring people together from across different companies and start building those relationships from which like a union could be built on top of.
Yeah, and I wouldn't even call it a sports league because it wasn't always the same people coming through.
It's just pickup games we were having on that day. It's not really a league.
And this wasn't the first time we did it. We had also done it the previous fall. And that's actually how we met you, Dylan. So, you're a proof of concept that like doing sports together is a way of getting to know people. And then if those people are pro-union, then they can get involved with the union.
They told me it was a sports league. Little did I know they were indoctrinating me to the union.
But most of the people who have come through and played, like they don't get involved in the union, and that's fine.
Yeah, I know. It was a good experience. At that point, I was fiending for some kind of community in the warehouse because this was my third site, y'all. You know how fucking hard it is to build an actual community at Amazon where people just want to fucking leave work, go home, and just sleep their day away? So when this sports league idea was told to me by Ellie, I looked at that. I was just like, oh, that's interesting. That's never been at anywhere else in my other warehouses. I'll do this.
We should try and make it bigger and better this year.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and Alvin, you said soccer because you're a soccer player, right?
Indeed.
Yeah. Skipping ahead to October, started turning up the heat again in October. What sort of spearheaded that?
What spearheaded that was our Atlanta convening.
Yeah. Yeah. So the Atlanta convening, I didn't go to that, but we had 5 representatives from our warehouse go. It was 17 committees from 17 warehouses that attended from 10 or 11 different states. And the real focus of that was to come away with a set of common demands. Like what are things that pretty much all Amazon workers across the country are struggling with? What are some issues that they're all facing at work? And we came away with a list of, was it 6 demands?
5 national demands that were representative of the national issues people were facing. So even though we won the earbud demand for us, a lot of other warehouses ain't even allowed to have those OSHA approved ones that Amazon be pushing.
Mm. I just pulled up the list of demands. Number 1 was fair pay and benefits, and mirroring the wage hike that UPS workers were fighting for. We demand a starting wage of $25 an hour, and then an additional $2 per hour peak bonus during holiday season. The second demand was safer workplace staffing, rest breaks. They shouldn't be cut short. And then another one is an end to automated write-ups, where people get these automatic write-ups without even being told about them, to allow 1 earbud nationally. We're already allowed earbuds in our warehouse, but that should be everywhere. And then respect our decision to organize. Amazon needs to stop retaliating against us, stop trying to prevent us from unionizing. So that's a list of demands that came out of this Atlanta convening. We were ready to go into peak from a pretty solid base. We started with a button up.
I thought the buttons were a huge success. We have, of course, we have those same naysayers that we always have, but it gave someone something tangibly to wear that represented that they support the union instead of just wondering what was going on or like waiting for like us to do something. It gave them a chance to actually show their support for it.
So just to gauge how many people supported the union, how many people were willing to show that support for the union, we printed off some Amazonians United buttons, and, we started asking people to wear them to show their support. We got 60, 70 people inside the warehouse wearing them, and we got a lot of drivers wearing them. So I would say, we got a few hundred people wearing those buttons showing support for the union. So now we're like, okay, so we know there's still a base of support for the union. Time to start figuring out what demands people are willing to fight for. So we took demands that we came up with in Atlanta, and so we're just like, let's identify the three most important demands to people. So we did a survey in the warehouse, and we found that the top issues was pay, understaffing, and the secret write-ups that people were getting in the warehouse. So those were the top issues inside the warehouse. Brendan, you also organized a pretty comprehensive surveying of the drivers. Well, do you want to talk about that?
Yeah, definitely. So first we just kind of were passing out flyers and getting the information of people that were interested in getting involved. Then we did a survey where we listed out like 6 or 7 potential demands and left a spot open for suggestions. The top 3 were hand carts and winter jackets. In a lot of cases, they didn't provide hand carts, which we need to do our jobs safely and efficiently. They weren't providing like winter coats as it was getting colder out. They didn't last year, and they weren't going to this year until we started organizing around it. And then on top of that, we wanted guaranteed 10 hours pay for each route. So right now we're scheduled for 10-hour shifts, but if you finish your route early, at a lot of DSPs, they only pay you for the time that you're on the clock. So if you finish early, you lose out on pay. Now, other DSPs, they pay you for the full 10 hours, even if you finish your route early. So we're just asking for that to be consistent across all the different DSPs. And then on top of that, we wanted a $25 bonus per rescue. Now, a rescue is when you finish your route early, and then the dispatch or the managers ask you to go and help someone else that's either behind on their route, or maybe they had extra packages, or just, shit happens on the road. Sometimes you need some help. So we think it's fair that if you do your whole route and then managers want some extra from you, you should get some extra back from them in the form of $25 bonus. And those were the 3 demands that we chose in addition to the warehouse demands. And we actually won after the strike. The very next week, they pulled like thousands of coats out of who knows where and started giving them out. And our manager actually told us he's been working for Amazon for 7 years, and he had never seen Amazon give out coats like they did this year in response to our organizing.
Their excuse that the driver trainers were saying is like, oh, they were here the entire time. They didn't win that. All right, cool. If they were here the entire time, why were y'all dragging your feet giving them out to begin with?
Yeah.
And what about the other years?
Yeah.
Why is this the first year they were here the entire time?
Yeah, they'll never admit that we win anything. It's always the goodness of Amazon's heart. So yeah, then we started, we really started pushing this walkout pledge. And the walkout pledge was different than a petition. We weren't just asking people to sign on saying we demand these things. We identified all these issues, and we were asking people to sign a commitment to walk out if management doesn't give us these things. And a lot of people were pretty scared at first. They were scared of management. And, management started upping their level of intimidation and union busting. And so to kind of put management in check, to kind of show them, we're willing to stand up to you, and show other people we're not scared of these managers. We did this very public action where we took the 2 managers that people had been complaining about that were, kind of abusive and bullies, and we blew up their pictures of their faces, put them on wanted posters with a description of, their bad behavior, the shit they do to bully people. And then, we made a big speech right before stand up in front of everyone saying, these managers are bullies. We don't need to take it from them. Then we plastered the break rooms with these wanted flyers of the 2 managers that have the most complaints against them as bullies. And management backed off a little bit in the warehouse, but then they started upping their retaliation against drivers.
Yeah, I mean, after we started our petition campaign, we had this superstar organizer named Carl, who, from the very first moment he bumped into us at the table, he was all about the union. And he came to a meeting, and the very first day he started collecting petition signatures, he got 27 signatures in one day. And then the next day, Amazon suspends him. Now, they identified him using the union busters that Amazon has brought in, these like contracted kind of snoops, these spies that, they play dress up. They dress up wearing working class clothing. They put on a black jacket with reflective lining on it, but they're really getting paid hundreds of thousands of dollars a year to try and figure out who supports the union and get them fired. And that's what they did to Carl. They came up with this bullshit reason that, oh, he got suspended because he needed a rescue. Now, like I said, rescue is a very routine thing that happens every day. So it doesn't make any sense to be suspending someone with 3 years tenure at Amazon because he needed a rescue one time. Then they tried saying that he was disrespectful towards them on the phone. I don't believe that. Carl is a very respectful dude. Like, he's very calm and level-headed. It just seemed like they were grasping at straws to try and like build up some legitimacy for his suspension. But the third reason that they gave that really sealed the deal to make it clear that this is just union busting, illegal retaliation, is that they said they fired him for parking in the bus lane in front of the warehouse to load up in the morning. Now, this is something that drivers did and continue to do every day. There's only so much space to load up in the morning, but sometimes all those spots are full. And this was one of those cases. He was actually told to go out there and load up in front of the building by a manager. And they sent probably one of their union busting snoops out there to take a picture of his van in the loadout and try and say that he's getting suspended because of that. The way that we responded to that, to Carl's suspension, was three things. First, we know our rights, and we know that illegal union busting retaliation is just that. It's illegal. So we filed federal charges with the NLRB, and that's a process that is in motion, and he will eventually be brought back to his job, and his company will have to pay him back for all the time that he missed. Second, we pulled up on his managers. 12 of us came through to his company's morning meeting, and we printed out flyers with Carl's face on it that said missing, suspended for organizing a union, and we shoved them in his manager's face and passed them out to his coworkers to know that Carl's gone because of the illegal union busting of their management, but we have his back and we're not going to let that fly. And then third, we went on strike about it. And we shut the warehouse down for close to 2 hours. No vans going out, nobody going in. And that was as a show of force, that you can't fire someone without a cost being paid. And, that probably cost them tens of thousands of dollars with all the people that were standing around, packages delayed. And so, I think we sent a pretty clear message that we're not going to stand for that kind of retaliation.
Yeah, I wasn't there for that part where y'all marched up on Carl's manager, and you had a pretty confrontational, calling him out, showing his true colors in front of his entire company, that he's an illegal union buster. I saw the videos for that, but I thought that was a really powerful action because it showed, half the people marching on him with you were warehouse workers, and then they were workers from other DSPs. So it showed you fuck with one driver, doesn't matter the DSP, and we're actually putting together a movement, and the leaders of that movement are going to come up and we're going to hold you to account. And then, like you said, then we followed it up with a strike, with a walkout from the inside of the warehouse. But that is what we're going to get into next. Turn it over to Dylan and Alvin so they can talk a little bit about how we built up to that strike on the inside of the warehouse, starting kind of where I left off, where we had been doing these walkout pledges, but the pledges themselves were not enough to get us ready for it.